When the entire school laughed as the slap echoed through the gym, no one realized that the girl they humiliated that day would become the woman the whole world would later admire. Before you scroll, hit that subscribe button, because this story of humiliation, courage, and ultimate transformation will keep you on edge till the very last word. It happened on a bright Monday morning, the kind of day when the sun should have brought warmth, but instead, it only highlighted the cruelty that filled Lincoln High's assembly hall. Sarah Turner, a quiet, hard-working 17-year-old girl with glasses always slipping down her nose and a backpack full of dreams, stood trembling in front of 200 students. It was supposed to be a regular school assembly, but instead, it became the stage for her humiliation. The bullies, Amanda, the queen bee with a venomous smile, and her entourage, had planned it all. They spread lies that Sarah had written a love letter to the school's most popular boy, Jake Reynolds, Amanda's boyfriend. When the letter was found and read aloud by Amanda in front of everyone, laughter filled the hall. Sarah's face turned red, tears burning behind her eyes as whispers spread like wildfire. Then, before she could even defend herself, Amanda walked up, sneered, and slapped her across the face, hard. The sound echoed, silencing the laughter for a moment, but it quickly returned, louder, crueler. Sarah stood frozen, her cheek stinging, her dignity shattered. Even Jake, the boy she secretly liked, didn't say a word. That moment changed her forever. She ran out of the hall, tears streaming down her face, her heart pounding like thunder. That day, something inside her broke, but in the cracks, something new began to grow, fire. The humiliation became her fuel. That night, Sarah didn't cry herself to sleep like before. Instead, she wrote down every insult, every laugh, every betrayal. One day, she whispered to herself, "They'll remember this face, not with laughter, but with awe." She deleted her social media, stopped trying to fit in, and began focusing on herself. She immersed in studies, joined a local debate club where no one knew her, and started volunteering at a community center. She discovered her love for public speaking, storytelling, and leadership. For the next 2 years, while the bullies thrived on popularity and gossip, Sarah worked in silence. She got scholarships, internships, and even started her own online blog called Rise from Ashes, where she shared motivational stories under a pseudonym. Little did anyone know, her writing began reaching thousands. By senior year, while Amanda was still busy posting selfies and Jake was struggling with grades, Sarah got accepted into one of the top universities abroad with a full scholarship. On graduation day, she stood on stage, not as a victim, but as the class valedictorian. When she gave her speech about resilience, everyone clapped, including the same students who had once laughed. But that wasn't her real victory. The real revenge came years later. In university, Sarah transformed. She ditched her old insecurities, embraced her intelligence, and reinvented her image. She majored in business and media, interned at top firms, and started her own company in her dorm room, a motivational brand that produced videos and podcasts about mental strength and recovery. Her soothing voice and real stories connected deeply with people. Within 3 years, her brand exploded worldwide. Millions followed her on social platforms, corporations invited her for keynote speeches, and magazines called her the Phoenix Woman. She became the youngest motivational CEO in the country. Life had done a full 180. But destiny had one more twist waiting. One day, while attending an international leadership summit, Sarah was invited to speak about overcoming adversity. Dressed in a sleek golden gown, she stood tall under the bright lights, cameras flashing. As she walked up to the stage, her eyes caught a familiar face in the crowd, Amanda. The same girl who had slapped her in front of 200 students was now sitting among the audience, visibly older, her eyes hollow, wearing a staff badge that read, "Event Assistant." Sarah froze for a second, memories flashing like lightning, the slap, the laughter, the pain. But instead of anger, she felt something unexpected, peace. She took a deep breath and began her speech. "Years ago," she started, "someone tried to break me in front of hundreds. But what they didn't know was that they weren't breaking me, they were building me." The audience went silent, mesmerized. Every word hit deep, every pause carried power. Amanda looked down, tears welling up, realizing who Sarah had become. After the event, Amanda approached her backstage, trembling. "Sarah," she whispered, "I'm so sorry, I didn't know what I was doing back then." Sarah looked at her, smiled softly, and said, "Neither did I. But we both learned." She hugged her, because sometimes, Victory isn't in revenge, it's in forgiveness. But the story didn't end there. A few weeks later, Sarah received an email from a major TV network. They wanted to make a documentary about her life, about the girl who went from being slapped in front of 200 students to inspiring millions around the globe. She hesitated at first, unsure if she wanted to relive that pain, but she realized the story wasn't just hers anymore. It belonged to every kid who ever felt humiliated, bullied, or underestimated. The documentary aired and broke records. Students, parents, even teachers reached out, saying how it changed their perspectives. Sarah's inbox overflowed with messages of gratitude. She became the voice of resilience for an entire generation. A year later, her company launched a scholarship fund for victims of bullying. The first event was held in her old high school's gym, the same place she had been slapped years ago. The crowd was full, reporters flashing cameras, and banners that read "Rise from Ashes Foundation." As she walked onto the same stage, her heart pounded. She saw Amanda again, now working as a counselor for bullied teens, thanks to Sarah's influence. Sarah smiled as she addressed the audience. "This stage once witnessed my humiliation, but today, it witnesses healing." The crowd erupted in applause. Tears streamed down faces. Even the principal, who had done nothing back then, came up to apologize publicly. Sarah accepted it with grace. That moment was the full circle. Pain turned into purpose. Years later, when Sarah was featured on the cover of Forbes as one of the top 30 under 30 influential CEOs, she thought about that slap again. She realized life had strange ways of giving lessons. If Amanda hadn't humiliated her, maybe she'd never have discovered her strength. The irony was poetic. The slap meant to destroy her had actually awakened her. She dedicated her success not to revenge, but to redemption. Every time she walked on a stage, her story inspired someone else to stand taller, speak louder, and fight back stronger. And then, one day, something unexpected happened. Jake, the boy who'd stayed silent during her humiliation, reached out through social media. He apologized, saying he regretted not standing up for her. He asked to meet her, hoping to make amends. Sarah agreed, not out of affection, but closure. When they met at a cafe, Jake admitted how his life had spiraled. He had chased fame, lost focus, and now worked a modest job. "You were the brave one," he said. "I wish I had your courage." Sarah smiled kindly and said, "Courage isn't born from comfort, Jake. It's born from pain." She left, feeling lighter than ever. Her story spread everywhere. Schools began showing her documentary in anti-bullying programs. Governments invited her to speak. She became a symbol of transformation, proof that no slap, no insult, no humiliation could define your destiny. She wrote a best-selling book titled The Slap That Changed Everything, which became a global phenomenon. And on the dedication page, she wrote, "To everyone who was ever laughed at, thank them. They gave you the fire you needed to rise." Today, Sarah runs a global foundation, empowering millions. Her past no longer hurts, it fuels her. She once walked out of that assembly hall crying, but now, she walks onto world stages smiling. The same hands that once covered her face in shame now hold microphones, signing autographs, and inspiring others. The same girl who was slapped in front of 200 students became the woman the entire world applauds. And that, right there, is the power of turning pain into purpose.